What it do, YouTube? It's your boy Sid B, and I am back talking the NBA playoffs once again. And to be specific, we're talking the NBA finals. Yes, that is right. They have finally arrived, and I am very excited for this series. It's going to be an interesting series to say the least, but we're going to table that for right now and kind of go over my predictions, kind of run with the same thing that I've been having this whole time throughout the playoffs. Kind of go back, go over my predictions, see if they panned out, see if they didn't pan out, kind of discuss it a little bit, and then we'll get back into my predictions for the finals. Now, what I want to do is I'm going to take the Western Conference first. Spot on. Everything that I thought would happen in this series happened. I knew Luka was going to get off. He was going to get his points, but I knew that was going to play into the Warriors' hands. I knew it that's what they want. They want a shootout. They want Luka to take a lot of shots. They want to try and get the pace going to try and get their confidence up, so they can think, oh, we have a shot at just making this a shootout with the Warriors. You don't want to do that. You will lose every single time. And that's exactly what happened, man. It just wasn't, I didn't see no way for them to come out of this series on top, the Mavericks that is, and that's just because they don't have the talent to do so. Now, I will say the supporting cast played better than I thought. However, it just wasn't enough, man. Like the supporting roles, the role players, the outside shooters that I was talking about, Reggie Bullock, that Keebler. I thought Keebler was actually going to play better, but he actually didn't. That's one of the guys I would say I was wrong about. But yeah, man, I knew that they was going to play right into what the Warriors wanted to do, and that was make it a shootout. And you don't want to play that basketball with the Warriors, man. That is the one team you do not want to have a shootout with. Unfortunately, Luka just didn't have enough. I knew he was going to get off and get his numbers, but he just didn't have enough around him to get that job done or even make the series interesting in that matter. And yeah, man, they lost in 5. I said they would lose in 5, so I was pretty spot on with that prediction. So it's not really much to say else about this series, so we're just gonna move on to the Eastern Conference Finals, which was a tad bit more interesting. Yeah, man. What I want to address first is Jimmy Butler. So in the video, I said I don't like Jimmy Butler. What I should have said was I don't like how Jimmy Butler treats his team. That's what I should have said, just to be more specific. And I still stand by I don't like his game, and he's still not a top 10 player. I still stand by that. However, I do like the attitude that he brings to the game. Like every game, I know that Jimmy Butler's not going to be afraid, which I mentioned. I said the Heat wasn't going to be afraid. They're not scared of nobody. I kind of mentioned that, but I didn't necessarily focus on Jimmy. He's that guy that's not going to be afraid of anybody and kind of show up and kind of do what he can. However, in this series, he played much better than I thought he would, especially in that I think it was game 5 or game 6 where he dropped that 40, I think it was like 45 point performance. Great performance by him. But yeah, man, other than that, I stand by what I said. I don't like how he I didn't say this. I should have said I don't like how he treats his teammates, and maybe I want to backtrack a little bit, only because his team seems to be this team, I should say, the Heat, because I know the Bulls didn't like it, I know the Timberwolves didn't like it, and I know the Sixers didn't like it. So the Heat might be a little bit different, and that might be because who's coaching them, what type of organization they have. So this team seems to be the only team that's not affected negatively by like the things that he do. Even though they did have that fight in the regular season with Haslam, and he was talking back to the coach. I don't think that fazed them, if that makes sense. But nonetheless, I was still right. The Celtics won. However, I was wrong about how many games it would go. It went 7 games. I thought it could go 7 games, which is what I said, but I thought that the Celtics would win in 6. I also said that Jason Tatum, if he comes out of this series on top, I don't see why we can't put him in the conversation as the best player. I'm gonna backtrack that statement just a tad bit, and not because I necessarily saw something in his game that warrants these. Well, no, that's not true. That's not true. There is something that I seen that in his game specifically that he needs to work on before I can put him in that conversation. But what really is kind of making me backtrack on that is the level of inconsistency with Tatum. And when he has a bad game, yes, he affects the game in other ways, but it's not felt. I don't think it's felt as much as someone like a Giannis when he has a bad game. His bad game was 25 and 20. That's his bad game. Now, Kevin Durant, on the other hand, he doesn't really have bad games. I think this was an anomaly with the first round. Other than that, we never really saw this with Kevin Durant. And that's not me backtracking on Kevin Durant. That nigga's a bitch. Like, for real. Forget that nigga. But I really want to. I had to take time and kind of think about that, because when the great players in this league have a bad game, their impact is still felt. I don't get that from Tatum. Yes, and he played good in this series for sure. He was definitely still the best player, in my opinion. I'm not mad at somebody saying Jimmy was the best player, but I mean, I'm not gonna argue. I'm not gonna argue with somebody saying Jimmy was the best player in this series, but nonetheless, Tatum still had a good series. He played well. The only thing I'm backing off of is being put in the conversation as the best. When you're in those conversations, your worst games, you have to be felt even when you're at your worst. LeBron James' presence when he has a terrible game is still felt. I think that's the same with Giannis. I think that's the same with KD. I don't get that feeling with Tatum, man, and that's why I'm backtracking. But the other thing in his game was that I seen in this series, he needs to be in control more when he's dribbling the ball. His handles isn't as tight as I thought they was. He kind of dribbles high, and he kind of put his back against the defender and kind of dribbles high a lot, and then when he spins, he's still keeping it high. You can't do that. Like, that's why he's been having so many turnovers. If he can kind of just sharpen those handles up a tad bit, he's pretty much unstoppable. But they get to him because he's dribbling so high. That's why he got so many turnovers, man. And I don't see why he haven't worked on that a little bit more. But that's besides the point. Celtics won in 7. I thought it could go in 7. I said that they would win in 6. I was wrong. They should have won game 6 for sure. I think they was up, was it 3 points with like 50 seconds? Oh, I don't even want to talk about it. That game was crazy. But yeah, man, the Celtics came out on top, so I would still take credit for that as well. The only thing I was wrong about was how far it would go. So I think that makes enough about the Western Conference and the Eastern Conference Finals. What we're going to do now is pivot to the NBA Finals. And that is the Golden State Warriors versus the Boston Celtics. It's going to be interesting, dog. I'm very excited about it, only because I've seen what I need to see from Tatum. He doesn't have to prove anything for me. So he's in a win-win situation for me. If he loses this finals, it's whatever. I don't really, nobody expected them to get this far, and I certainly didn't at the beginning of the season. Once they beat the Nets, I knew that they would be here. You can go back and backtrack. Once they beat the Nets, I was like, oh, okay. They the best team in the East right now. And with that being the case, it sets the stage perfectly for him to take down a Titan that is the Warriors. That's why I love those type of matchups when there's a clear underdog and there's a Titan, a Goliath on the other side, where they still match up pretty well with the Warriors, in my opinion. I think their perimeter defense, the Boston Celtics that is, I think those players and that length that they have, they're so big compared to the Warriors. That's going to help them out in this series defensively. The problem is you have to be banking on the Warriors to beat themselves. That's the only way it's happening, bro. If the Warriors, which I don't think that they'll do this, but if the Warriors kind of get outside of themselves and kind of stray from what they've been doing and kind of make this a series about Steph trying to get the Finals MVP, that's when it's going to get interesting. That's when it's going to get interesting. I don't think they'll do that. I think they'll play the correct way and kind of go about the series how they've been doing this entire series or this entire playoffs. But yeah, man, it's only interesting in that from that perspective, because like I said, man, the Celtics defensive wise, they not only do they bring the energy like they want to defend, but they have the people to do it. Like their entire starting five is not a liability. Like none of them are a liability on defense. Smart, defensive player of the year. Jaylen Brown, extremely lengthy. He has the lateral quickness to move around. Same with Tatum. Robert Williams is a great paint defender, and Al Horford, he can defend the paint as well, and he's agile enough to kind of just hedge out there like on those pick and rolls. And if he needs to switch, I don't feel terrible about him switching on somebody outside of Curry. Like I feel terrible with anybody switching on the Curry just because he's that amazing as a player. But just with that being the case, like when they don't have a liability on the court, that it gives them so much confidence to do that, because you don't have to waste so much energy having just Smart trying to put Smart on Curry, or even Tatum might be switched on Curry every now and then. And I think Tatum can do a pretty good job just because of his length. Like he's a long player. So I'm excited about this series, man. I really am. And kind of just to touch on the Warriors, man, from the jump, I knew the Warriors would be in the finals. When people was talking about the Suns, I wasn't trying to hear it. When at the beginning of the season, I did think the Lakers would be in the runnings, so I will say that. But once I started seeing the Lakers play throughout the season, yeah, well, come on. I don't even have to touch on that, but yeah. So I will say the Lakers was in my thoughts at first as well, but once I seen what type of play that they was doing with Westbrook trying to play off ball, and when he gets I'm not even gonna talk about the Lakers, they're terrible. But yeah, man, I knew very early on that the Warriors was gonna be in this situation, and I was incorrect about the Nets. But once the Celtics beat the Nets, I knew that they would be here. So it's gonna present a very interesting matchup, man. Only if Udoka, which is the coach, can kind of put together a game plan that throws Steve Kerr, which is the Golden State Warriors coach, kind of put a wrench in his game plan for game one. And I think this is going to be his best chance to do this in game one, because the Warriors haven't played in a while, and once you don't play for a while, yes, you get rested up. I want to be clear with that, not rusted, but you get rested up when you don't play. However, the same can be said about the Celtics, because it's been 3.5-4 days now since they played. So they're going to be rested up. They should have a healthy team. But yeah, man, I'm looking forward to this matchup, because I think game one is the game for the Celtics to steal a game, because they've been playing longer and more consistently than the Warriors. I shouldn't say consistently. I'm just talking about in terms of how many games they played. Like, they just came from a Game 7 series, and that is still fresh on their mind. The Warriors, on the other hand, just got done just about sweeping the Mavericks. So if Kerr doesn't have them boys prepared, it's gonna be a problem, man. It's gonna be a problem. I'm gonna say that. Now, to get down to who I think is gonna win, I think the Warriors will win the series. Obviously, I think they're the favorite. Obviously, they should be. However, I don't think people are giving the Celtics enough of a real chance at beating them. Like, I think I haven't heard anybody in the media, just because I haven't had time to watch TV. But from what I'm hearing, my friends text me, I don't hear people giving the Celtics a real shot. They do have a real shot to win. I just think too much has to go right for them to pull this off, and I don't see that happening. So I'm gonna take the Warriors in 6, because I think they're gonna steal one of these home games, and I think it has to be game 1 that's gonna be tonight on Thursday. So I see them taking that first game, and it's hard for me to believe that they won't win a home game out of the next 3 that they have. So yeah, man, I'm gonna take the Warriors in 6. I don't see much the Celtics can do on their end that's gonna push this farther than 6 games. If it goes more than 6 games, it'll be because what the Warriors didn't do, and lesser so on what the Celtics did. I think that their best chance is their coach and them out coaching the Warriors, because I don't see much the players can do with the talent that they have available to them. And not to say that their talent isn't up there, because they are, but the Warriors are just too deep, man. They're just too deep, and the player Steph he making a run, bro. He making a real run for this, and I'm very excited to see what he's gonna do in this finals, because the last finals that I seen him in, he showed up, because that was the Raptor series. He balled out that series. People don't give him enough credit, because KD and Clay got hurt, and it was just him out there. If you want to count Draymond, I guess you can count Draymond, but that nigga ain't. That nigga Chuck say he averages average single triple. That nigga ain't shit. Chuck ain't shit. But yeah, man, he didn't really have much in that series to help him out with, and he balled out. He did everything that he could, in my opinion, against the Raptors. It just wasn't enough to take out Kawhi. So I fully expect Steph to come out and put on a show. I really think Steph is going to be, I'm going to say he going to average about 33, 35 this series. And it's going to be in a spectacular fashion, just to kind of put that icing on top, or that cherry on top, where to kind of prove his doubters wrong. And it's going to be against a very good defensive team. So I do think they can kind of shake them a little bit, but if they focus on Steph, the Warriors are smart enough to move the ball around and get the ball to the open shooter. So it's gonna, and they're capable shooters. Clay is a capable shooter. Jordan Poole is a capable shooter. Andrew Wiggins has become a capable shooter. So it's not like they don't have the supporting cast around Steph to where it has to be him and only him. That's not the case, man. So I just see the Warriors prevailing, and it's not much the Celtics are going to be able to do from a player standpoint. So yeah, man, I'm gonna leave it here. I also want to touch on the fact that YouTube has blocked my Kendrick Lamar not predictions, but that part 2. Hey, I don't know what to tell you, bro. I recorded it. I might put in little clips here, just to kind of show you that it has been recorded, but YouTube ain't having it. They blocked it, so I can't can't do too much of anything with it. So yeah, man, other than that, you might get like a NBA mock draft. I'm debating on it only because I know mock drafts are kind of like what the teams are expecting to take with those picks. I'm not good at that. I know what I would take, but as far as what I think the NBA teams would take, it's like I don't care what I think that they would take. Now, if I do a mock draft, it would be who I would take if I was in their position. But so yeah, man, if y'all want that, y'all can put that in the comment section. I'm not too thrilled about doing it. I might just do like what I did last time, kind of go over the prospects, the top prospects, and kind of give you a breakdown on them. That's more of what I'm looking to do with that. But other than that, man, yeah, I'm gonna leave it here. Warriors in 6, and I think that's pretty much it. So till next time.